Hi guys, it's Christina from Blossom and Root. Today I'm going to be showing you our newest release, which is a curriculum called Wonders of the Prehistoric World. This curriculum was designed to coordinate with our Year 3 Science, Wonders of the Animal Kingdom, that you can add either at the beginning before you do Wonders of the Animal Kingdom. You can do it at the same time as Wonders of the Animal Kingdom if you want to. You can do it over winter break or summer break, and you can always do it after Wonders of the Animal Kingdom as well. In addition to that, it is available for sale in our store by itself. So if you just want Wonders of the Prehistoric World, but you don't want our full zoology curriculum, you can grab this curriculum in our store by itself. So in this video, I'm going to be walking you through the parent guide and the student notebook and showing you what those look like. And then I'm going to show you all the books that I've pulled together for us in our homeschool for the summer, because we're going to be using this curriculum over the summer. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with the parent guide first. So when you open up the parent guide, the first thing you're going to see are, did I skip a page? I did. Are a bunch of pages that kind of explain how to use the Blossom and Root Science curriculum. And these pages are really similar to the pages at the beginning of all of our elementary curriculum. So as you can see, there are 13 wonders, which is what we call our units or our lessons in Blossom and Root Science. And they move chronologically through time. So we start with the Precambrian and move our way upward through time. We spend a little bit of extra time in the Mesozoic era because dinosaurs, there's so much fun stuff to learn about. And then we move up into modern times in the very last unit. So yeah, that's the table of contents. The next thing you're going to come across is our book list. And this is the spine, the list of the spines that you are required to have or are recommended to have. We actually only have one required spine, and I'll show that to you after I show you the parent guide and the student notebook. And then we recommend several other spines as well to pick and choose from. And then we have several pages of recommended books as well that you can supplement with. You'll be seeing a lot of those in my book stack. And then we get to the lessons. So the way the lessons are set up is that we start off by telling you what you're going to be covering in this wonder. And again, that's just what we call the units or the lessons in our science curriculum. So in this wonder, these are the main points that we want to make sure our children understand before we move on. Now, you get to temper this depending on how old your child is. So if you have a really young learner that you're using this with, you might not need to hit all these points. If your child's not quite ready to absorb all that, you can definitely pick and choose which points you want to hit and move on. If your child, on the other hand, is more advanced and they want to go deeper, these give you good jumping off points. So these are just the big picture messages, the things that the lessons are built upon, and the most important things to hit home. On the next page, you'll see a few different sections, and this is really similar to every other Blossom and Root Science elementary curriculum. So you have a section called For the Minimalists. For the Minimalists is the section to hit bottom line. Like, if you're going to build a big unit on this lesson, make sure you build it on top of this. If you are in a hurry or you're not very interested in the Precambrian period, you can just hit that and move on. Like, you don't need to do any of the other books or video links or activities. That's your option if you're in a hurry or this particular lesson doesn't interest you or your child as much. So those are going to be pulled from the spines, which I will show you again when I'm done with the parent guide and the student notebook. But that's basically what you're going to see in the minimalist section. The next section you're going to see is the book basket, folks. So this is my favorite section because we really love books in this house. And this is where you're going to find all the book lists, recommendations for that particular lesson, if you're a book-loving family that likes to add a lot of books. So that's where all of those will be found. The next section is called For the Visual Learners. This section is all video links, sometimes website links as well. And then the next section you're going to see is the activity section. So this is where you're going to find not just the list of activities, but the lab guide itself. So for those of you who are familiar with our science curriculum, it's going to look a little bit different than what you're used to because the activities are right there already written out in the same guide. So when you get to this part, you get to make some choices. And this is what I really love about our Blossom and Root curriculum is that it's like a choose your own adventure. You get to decide which activities you feel like doing that week, which ones you're going to skip. Sometimes you're just busy or you're not really into it, so you don't do any of them. Whereas sometimes you want to do all the things because you really like that topic. So you get to make this your own. And in this particular curriculum, we have one activity for each category. So the first category is called For the Outdoor Learners. And in that category, I'm going to try and flip ahead to another one so you can kind of see. So in that category, we have activities that can be done outdoors for the most part, or with natural materials. So these activities are for the homeschooling families who love to homeschool outside, who love to go on field trips, or just take their school with them in a backpack and set up a picnic blanket, but they still want to be able to do their science lessons. That's what these activities are for. The second category is called For the Table Lab Crowd, and these are for kitchen science curriculum lovers, people who like to do labs and activities and things inside, typically at the kitchen table. That's why we call it that, but maybe not. Maybe you do it in the backyard. I don't know. But it's for people who just love to do their science activities at home from the comfort of their kitchen or wherever. And those tend to be more, sometimes they're like food oriented, sometimes they're lab activities or demonstrations. It varies a lot in that category. And then the last category is called For the Craft and Project Families. And in this particular curriculum, every time we come up to this one, it's modeling. So your child will make a model of something that was alive during that time. So in this particular lesson, you could choose trilobites. That would be a really great choice. Let's see, what else do I have in here? Hallucigenia would be a really good choice too. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. I always give recommendations. So I tell you, okay, these are the materials you can use. Of course, you can use things I didn't think of. Go for it. Legos would be awesome. And then I give recommended life forms from that period. And again, you don't have to stick with that. You can use whichever life form your child was super into from that period. I just give the recommendations to help those who might be stuck. After you get past all that, you'll come to some pictures. So I tried to include good photographs for every single unit that will help your child, whether they're modeling or making a picture in their notebook, or they just want to see what some things looked like from that time. So they're color pictures. You don't have to print the lab guide in color if you don't want to, but I did make them color photos for those of you who have really visual children who like bright colors and big pictures. So here you have a trilobite and some other interesting creatures from the Cambrian and the Ordovician. And then another one. So those close up every single unit. You'll have pictures at the end of every unit. And it just goes through over and over and over again. So every unit has all of those pages I just showed you, but with new books, new video links, new activities, and new pictures. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. That's what the parent guide looks like. And now I'm going to show you the student notebook. All right, so here's what the student notebook looks like. And again, if you're used to Blossom and Root curriculum for science especially, it's going to look a little different than the notebooks that you typically see in our science curricula. In our regular science curricula, I treat the notebook a lot like a scientist's field notes, or something that you would take out with you so that you can take notes about the things you're learning as you go. I really like it to belong completely to the child, to decide which part of the lesson resonated with them, which part they want to remember. It's very open-ended rather than being super guided. But in this curriculum, I felt like it needed to have some guidance with it being so short. I thought it would be helpful to have a little bit more structure. So still, you are welcome to just do a plain blank sketchbook instead of this if you would prefer. You don't even have to use the notebook if you're staying super casual with this unit, but it is there for those who need it or who want it. And if your student is young and they're not writing independently yet, we highly encourage you to scribe for them so they can make a picture or tape a photograph in, and then they can tell you what they want you to write and you can write it down for them. So I like using a slightly thicker paper for notebooks, and I like keeping them single-sided myself, but you are welcome to print double-sided as well. So as you can see, we do have it a little bit more structured. This is pretty simple. This is very similar to what it typically looks like in our notebooks. But every unit has more than one page in this one, and that is unusual for our notebooks. So this one just says name of a life form from the Precambrian. So it gives them a chance to record. So this is the first page was to record what the Precambrian world looked like based on your readings and your video links and things like that. And then you pick one life form to record here. And you can take notes in the margins. You can just write the name and that's it. Everything's fine. That's the notebook. All right, now it's time for my favorite part, which is books. So I'm going to start with the spine and then the other recommended spines to consider when you are looking at this curriculum. So this is the only required spine, the Dinosaur book by D.K. Smithsonian. And this is used in every single unit, but it is really heavy on the dinosaurs. So that is definitely the bulk of the book. But it's a great book, like all other DK books. It's got excellent pictures, good information. It's really easy to use and flip through. It's well organized. I like that it has things like this, where it compares humans to dinosaurs so your child can kind of put it in perspective. And it organizes them more by like groups of dinosaurs in this book and different features of dinosaurs. So it's an excellent book. I really fell in love with it right away. So this is the one required spine for the curriculum. All right, the next thing I want to talk about are the books that are not required, but are highly recommended for spines. So because our main spine, the dinosaur book, is so heavy on the Mesozoic specifically, we needed spines to help round out all the stuff that happened before the Mesozoic. So you have two choices, and both are optional, but they are highly recommended because they help fill in, like I said, all that time before the Mesozoic. So if your library does have these and you happen to have your library open, this would be a good choice for those because they're especially great for the first four wonders. So we have the Story of Life Evolution. And this is brought to you by the people who make the really big books like Animalium and Botanicum, but it's a small book. I don't know if they make a big version, but I kind of like the small version. I love the big ones for Botanicum and Animalium, but I like this more compact version for this one. So this one goes through everything. It's awesome. I do love it so much. So it starts with the very first life, and then slowly moves up into more life forms, more variety. I mean, it's fantastic. I really love this book so much. And I feel like for younger learners, some of this might go over their head, but I think it will really hit home really well for our target age of that third grade group, that third grade range. So it's excellent. Highly recommended. I love it. I love all their books. This one was new to me, and this was one of the very first books I found when I was going to write this curriculum. And it's called Life, the First 4 Billion Years, the Story of Life from the Big Bang to the Evolution of Humans. And it's big, like I can't even fit it in the camera to show you. Oh no. Now I'm making everything crazy. I'm sorry, guys. Try and study that. But it's there. That kind of gives you an idea of how big it is. So some of the pages fold out, which is really cool. There's like so much information. Again, I can't even show it to you because my camera's not up high enough. But it's great. And just like the Story of Life Evolution, it goes through everything. And it's it has more text, but it reads more casually than the Story of Life Evolution does, more like a story. Again, it might go over the heads of the younger crowd, but I still think it's worth reading to them. And also, a lot of kids at that age really soak this stuff up, so don't let that intimidate you or keep you from buying it or looking into it if you're really interested in it. But it reads more like a storybook than the other one. So, and it has awesome pictures too. It has more pictures than the other one, which is one thing I loved about it. And they're big. So, I mean, you could just jump into that. That's gorgeous. I really, really love this book. I do. I spent so much time just looking at it before I even started writing this because I think it's gorgeous and it's so fascinating. So That's highly recommended too. So like I said, you don't need both this one and this one, and really you don't need either if you want to go minimalist here and you don't have the budget for it, or you're not going to be spending that long on it, or your kid's just not quite ready for this stuff. You don't need them. You can just use the big picture messages that we give you and all the great video links that we provide. It's got crooked. You could just use those instead. But if you do want a book to round out the time before the Mesozoic, but also it does cover the Mesozoic as well, these are great. They're awesome. All right, so I know the spine is a DK dinosaur book, but I have another book that I recommend that is a DK Smithsonian dinosaur book. Let me explain. This one, the spine, it was better for the full curriculum, and it really did a good job of telling the story of the whole curriculum. So that's why we chose this one for the spine. It was a hard choice because I loved DK Smithsonian Dinosaur. I think this is such a fascinating, fantastic, excellent book, but it just fell short of what I wanted for the spine. So that being said, if your kid is super crazy about dinosaurs, or you really want to take your time working through this unit, or you're just a real big book lover like me, I recommend both, because this one, oh dang, sorry guys, I did it again. This one has huge pictures of individual species. So the other one, it's like a whole bunch of species on one page because they're all in the same group, right? But this one looks at one species at a time. And the other thing I love about it is that it moves chronologically, unlike the DK Dinosaur book doesn't really do that at all. So it goes through the Triassic world and the creatures that you would see during the Triassic time. And then it goes into the Jurassic. And then it goes, we're not there yet. There we are. And then it goes into the Cretaceous. This one also has the great thing where it shows you like the size of the dinosaur compared to a human. And I think that's really helpful for children because they can understand, oh, okay, well, this one wasn't very big. That's hard to get if you don't have that because you just see the picture and you think, oh, that's a pretty big dinosaur, but it's not. It's a pretty small dinosaur. So excellent book. Goes chronologically, has gorgeous big pictures, great information, and it has the size comparison, which I really, really love. So yeah, I like both. So if you have a lot of book money saved up, I highly recommend getting both. They're both really great for different reasons. So again, like this one, you see the individual species really like in perspective, and you can kind of see how big you are next to one. And it also does go into stuff after the Mesozoic, which is nice. So cool. So yeah, two different DK Smithsonian books. This one's the spine. This one I love, but it's not a spine. So you don't, I mean, it is a spine, but it's not a required spine. Also, the other thing about this one is we don't really use it at all until week 5, or Wonder 5 rather. All right, so we have another book by the Welcome to Museum people. Welcome to the museum people. This is Dinosaurium, and it's really beautiful, just like all their other books. And it's also huge, just like all their other books. And so I would say this one's more like, I mean, it's a great, great book. But if it's between this one and the DK Smithsonian Dinosaur to fill in that dinosaur need, I would go with DK Smithsonian Dinosaur probably over this one. This one is gorgeous. It makes a great coffee table book. It's probably going to be more popular with the adults, but it doesn't have as much packed into it. Now, what I do like about it is that it goes by animal group. And that's why we're going to be using all the things with my kids, because I really want them to understand the difference between the groups of the different dinosaurs. So cool. So, the sauropods. And then you get into the theropods. And it really goes nice and deep. It starts out with like the earlier ones for each group and then how they evolved into different ones. I mean, it's a great book. I do love it. I love it a lot. I'm really glad I have both. But if I didn't, it would be really hard for me to choose which one to get. It would. But I'd probably end up going with the DK Dinosaur one if I had to choose, just because I think my kids would get more out of it than this one, I would probably get more out of this one for myself, if that makes sense. But it's awesome. And it does like give you a really good picture. This is the other thing I like about it. It gives you a really good picture of that world, which is something that a lot of dinosaur resources miss. They tell us all about the dinosaurs, but they don't tell us about the world they were living in. And I like that that gives us a portrait. Oh, okay, so that's what that looked like versus the Jurassic versus the Triassic. So another gorgeous book by them. Gosh, I just love everything they make. Okay, so we have another DK Smithsonian. This is the last one. This one's totally optional, but if you have a big dinosaur lover in your house, or if you want to incorporate a bit of geography into your dinosaur unit, this is a really great way to do it. And we actually include prompts for it, which I didn't show you because we didn't get that far into this. But for the Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, pterosaurs, marine life of the Mesozoic, you have a geography component using this book. So what you would do is you would look up in the book the different species that lived during each time. You would look them up in this atlas, and then you would pin something on a map on your wall. So you'd have to get a map of the world to pin on your wall, and you would put a pin in where that dinosaur's fossil was discovered. And you would put a label with the pin that says the name of the dinosaur or a picture of that dinosaur, or both, to show where those fossils were discovered. So this is a really easy way to just add in some extra geography. If you follow Blossom and Root, you know that we really like to do geography as an integrated study. So instead of having a separate geography curriculum, we integrate it into language arts, into science. So this is a great way to integrate some geography without adding a whole extra subject. All right, so I have shown you our spines and the main resources that you can choose to add to the curriculum to use as spines. And now I'm going to show you all the supplemental books that we have that we're going to be using when we do this curriculum over our summer. So we've got Goodnight Trilobite. It's a really cute book. And trilobites are awesome. So I really wanted to have a trilobite book, and I really like this one a lot. I think it's really, really cool. So Goodnight Trilobite. I love Brave Writer. I love Brave Writer so much, you guys. And all the things that Julie Bogart specifically has helped us to integrate into our homeschool. And one of the things I love the most is doing poetry tea time. So I always try to find a poetry book that relates to the unit we're going to be working on. And then we read through it during our poetry tea times as we go through the unit. So this is the one I chose for this particular unit. I chose Dinothosaurus. And I love the artwork in it so much. The poems are really short and kind of silly, like very, very goofy, but they're playful, and I really enjoy that, and I think the girls are going to love it. It'll make them kind of feel silly and lighthearted about poetry too. They like silly poetry, so it'll inspire them to write some of their own. And the pictures are so cool, so I think we're really going to love this while we're going through our whole Prehistoric World unit and incorporating it into our weekly poetry tea times, which we usually do them outdoors during the summer as kind of like a poetry picnic. So this will be along with us. All right, so then we have Dinosaur Discoveries by Gail Gibbons. And this is an updated version. So if you do get this, make sure you get the updated version because the other one's a little out of date. But this one also groups them by type of dinosaur. So just like the Dinosaurium book does, this one does on a smaller scale and much cheaper. So if you want a book that organizes them by group, but you don't want to buy the Dinosaurium book, this one would be a really good book to consider because it does go through those groups, and that's really cool because we focus on that in the curriculum. So I love the books in this series. I try to put them in all of our science levels. So I was excited to put Buried Sunlight into this level. So this one's all about fossil fuels. And there are a few different places in the curriculum where this would make sense. I built it into Unit 13, but you could also do it during the unit on the Carboniferous period, and that would be really appropriate too. So it's a great book. It was hard to find books about prehistoric animals that weren't outdated. I'm going to be honest with you. I had a really hard time. So this was one of the few. Luckily, our spines have a lot about prehistoric mammals and Ice Age and things like that. They have that in our spines. So it was like not the end of the world, but I could not find very many good supplements that were not just complete fiction or really outdated. This one was really interesting because it does talk more about people of the Stone Age time. So this, I'm going to add this one in for us. We're going to use it during the last two wonders, which is the last Ice Age and then the rise of mankind. So we can incorporate a little bit of human history in there as well. So if you're wanting to add more about humans, about Homo sapiens specifically, this is probably your best bet. Then we have an Annabelle and Aiden book. These are also great books that we like to incorporate into the curriculum. This one's called Sapiens, and it specifically talks about human evolution. And then another one of their books, The Story of Life. So this goes through the concept of where everything began and how it moved through it. And so this would be a good one to add at the beginning during Unit 1 or at the end during Unit 13. So you can either use it as an introduction or to wrap things up at the end. Same with Grandmother Fish, which is a great book. Again, with this one, you can either use it as an introduction at the beginning of the curriculum, or you can use it at the very end of the curriculum to wrap things up. That would work especially well if you were getting ready to move into Wonders of the Animal Kingdom for 3rd grade, because that curriculum starts with these same concepts. So it would be a really good bridge into the next curriculum. And then this one is recommended throughout the whole curriculum because it covered so many different things that it was hard for me to decide which one unit to tie it to, because it's just not written that way. So I recommend in the curriculum for people to just take their time reading through it during the whole 13 units. So for us, that means we'll read this over 6 to 8 weeks. So when I go to plan out our summer, and I promise I will make a video to show you guys how I plan, how I schedule, how I organize, how I pull things out, set things up. I promise I will make a video and walk you through that whole thing because it is something you guys ask for a lot. So I will do that for you. But like I was saying, I'll kind of count how many pages there are and divide it up over the amount of weeks I expect that will take to do this curriculum. It's a really, really good book, When the Whales Walked, and other incredible evolutionary journeys. All right, I'm going to show you my very favorite stack now. I know I just said that this was my favorite stack, but that's not true because I absolutely love the other stack I just showed you so much and all the spines. But I am really excited about doing the fossils part of the curriculum. We've got Digging Up Dinosaurs by Aliki. I actually bought this last year for our summer fossil unit last year. And then I was like, ooh, this will go great with our Prehistoric World unit. So it's a great little book. These are really inexpensive, and they're almost always at the library too. And they're easy to find on thrift books usually, and those other stores too. Then we have Fossils Tell of Long Ago. Again, these books are really affordable. Like even if you buy it new, it's usually like $6 or something. So these are great. I have a lot of these take-along guidebooks, and the rest of them are all in like a big book with a bunch of the little books in them, but this one I have separately. So it's Rocks, Fossils, and Arrowheads. I figure this will just come in handy. We have this from 1st grade because 1st grade Science for Blossom and Root is all geology, so we have this from when we did 1st grade. But we didn't really get too much into fossils at the time. So it shows you like examples of different fossils. So it'll be really good for identifying different fossils that we find in stores or wherever. So that one's a good one. And then when I was picking out books for the curriculum, I did try to find some books that were more friendly for the younger siblings. So this is one of the books I chose for that reason, but the artwork is really cool. So I think we checked this out from the library last year when we did our super short, like 1 week long fossil unit with one of the book seeds from 1st grade. And we really liked it. So I went ahead and bought the paperback version of it this year for me to consider when I was putting it into the curriculum. And I really do love it. I always like to have a DK Eyewitness on hand because they have so many good pictures. We don't sit here and read through them. They're kind of clunky if you try to do that, like reading from one end to the other, but they're really, really good for showing pictures. So if we were studying, you know, mollusks and shell fossils, I would set this up on our little stand for us to have a visual. So it's really, really great for visual reference. Not my favorite for reading, but I love them for the visuals. Okay, so we have Barnum's Bones. This is a great one for when you're studying paleontologists. And it is on the wordier side, so I don't know if this would work well for like really young kids, but it's a great book and you could break it up into multiple readings. On the other hand, we have this book, which has no words. It's just a story. I thought it was beautiful. It's purely just for fun. It's really whimsical. I think it's beautiful. And I think it's inspiring. So books like this would make me, if I was a kid, and even though I'm not a kid, it makes me want to go out and look for fossils and dig and imagine. So that was kind of what I had in mind when I chose this one. I wanted to like ignite their imagination when I read it to them. So they can look at the pages, and then the next time we go on a nature outing, maybe they'll remember it and it'll inspire their play. So I like to throw in books like that too. This one's beautiful. Okay, if you guys are familiar with this book, I can't show it to you all on the phone right now because it unfolds into this huge, gigantic thing. So as you can see, it like lifts out. I don't know, I'm trying to show you guys, I'm sorry. And you stretch it across like the whole floor. So it's a book that opens up into this like room length picture that goes deep into the layers of the earth all the way to the core. So the core is like at the bottom, and then you walk all the way up to the top and read all the information. It's really cool, and it has a picture, different pictures on both sides. So you can unfold it and look at it this way, or you can flip it over and look at it the other way. And it's two different pictures. I hope that made sense. But it's a beautiful book. I got this for first grade geology as well, but it works really, really well for this unit. So highly recommend. So Mary Anning is a great person to study during a fossil unit, and we have a book seed about her. So when we get to this unit, when we get to unit 13, we'll complete unit 13, and then we'll spend probably a good 2 weeks just doing this book seed issue. This book seed comes with our year 1 science curriculum, which is called Wonders of the Earth and Sky. But you can buy it separately in our store. And it retails for $6 US dollars normally. So it's not a big expense. So if you wanted to add a little bit extra to your study of the prehistoric world, and you really wanted to go deep into fossils specifically, this is a really fun way to do it. So like all our other book seeds, it comes with 4 different STEM activities. It comes with 3 art projects, a kitchen classroom activity, 2 nature study prompts, 3 open invitations to play, a nature journaling section, a language arts section, and then suggestions for going even deeper if you wanted to. So these activities are really fun. It gives you a chance to get really creative. I don't know. I love the open-endedness of them. So if you have littler ones, there are a lot of activities in here that they would enjoy as well. Like making fancy dinosaurs. So some of these activities are really whimsical and more open, and some of them are definitely more STEM oriented. So book seeds, Mary Anning and the Sea Dragon. So our plan for the summer, again, is to spend 6 to 8 weeks working through this, and then 2 weeks on this. So that's going to make for a pretty fun summer, I think. The last thing I wanted to show you guys were just a few fun extras that I've pulled together for our own unit. These are my kids' dinosaur toys, and I'll pull them all together when we're ready to start so that they're on display and they're out and they're more inviting for them to come play with. So if they're sitting on the homeschool shelf while I'm reading to them, they can play with these while I'm reading or while we're watching the movies, and kind of keep their hands busy. And they do incorporate really well with tactile sensory play. So playing with kinetic sand or in shaving cream or in the water bucket, like my kids are really, really responsive to that, especially my youngest. She really needs that sensory stimulation. So these will make a great way to tie the sensory bit into the unit we're studying. So we have a whole bunch, but I just grabbed a couple of them. Gosh, there's a whole bunch of different companies on Amazon that make them. Some of them are really expensive and some of them are cheaper. Most of ours are really cheap. But I couldn't even tell you the names of all the companies because they're from so many different places. But they're really easy to find. I have an excellent fossil collection that I picked up at the Dinosaur Resource Center, which is in Woodland Park, Colorado. We got these there. So it's like a little explanation card. I think this was so cheap, and I can't remember how much it was. It was like $11 for all of these, but they're real fossils. So I'm excited that we get to really look at them deeply since we can't go to the Dinosaur Resource Center this year, which was a big part of my plans. I don't know, you guys, it's fun to look at these. My trilobite got broken though. There he is. Poor little guy. Gosh, he's so small. Anyway, so these are really fun, and the cards give you a lot of information about each one, how old it is, what it is, where it was found. I don't know where else you could find those, but I mean, I've seen them at a few different museums, so hopefully they're not that hard to find. I don't remember where we got this. We have a habit of stopping into like rock and fossil shops every time we pass one, so who knows where we got that. But then I got this kit on Amazon. We have Rock On, which is another kit they make. We got it for first grade geology. And so I knew they had a fossil kit. And I was like, I'm going to get it because you can never have too many fossils. And I wanted to take a good look at it so I could recommend it for the curriculum. It comes with a bunch of polished rocks, which is cool. We have a ton of these though, so maybe we can use them for, I don't know, just for fun. Anyway. And then the fossils come in their own little bag and they're carefully wrapped. I haven't gotten a chance to really dig into them yet. But the other cool thing about this kit is that it comes with games. So it comes with like these cards and you can lay them out on the floor and then you open up the fossil bag and you figure out which fossil is which and you put it on top of the card, which is great. And my daughter's really liked doing that with the rock one. So it has all those. And then it has bingo. Ooh, that's what you could use the colored stones for. Probably what they had in mind. Bingo. Yeah, that's probably exactly why they give those to you. Oops, sorry. So, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool little kit. It wasn't that expensive for what you get. I mean, it's cheaper to just go to like local rock and fossil shops usually, but I don't know, it's fun. So if you want just something quick and easy, that's a good option. It's on Amazon. I got here in like 2 days, even with all the crazy stuff going on right now. So I hope this was helpful for you guys and gave you a really good look at what to expect from Wonders of the Prehistoric World, and to also show you some of the books from it so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Again, it ties together lots of different elements. We've got books, we've got videos, we've got activities, different activities for different kinds of families. And the last thing I want to talk about is rabbit trails. So like every other curriculum that we write, we highly encourage you to follow your curiosity when you're doing this one. If you're going through and something just grabs your child's attention and they want to just keep on that thing or go deeper or learn more, we always encourage you to go for it. This will be here waiting when you come back. Don't worry about staying on this pathway and sticking to a strict schedule. Go follow those rabbit trails and come back when you're ready. So that's Wonders of the Prehistoric World. I hope you guys are having a great time and that you're staying safe and healthy and well. And we wish you all the best. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me, Christina at blossomandroot.com, and I'll be happy to help you. Again, my email address is Christina at blossomandroot.com. And I'll have samples of this up on the website shortly. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.